evening, everyone, and welcome to number 29, episode number 29 of the JeopardyFan.com's live panels. You'll be seeing a lot more of us on YouTube and in video form than in recap form, in case you missed the news from the blog. This past week, we've decided that to focus on the live panel hangouts instead of recaps. So our last recap, as was said just before we went live, was a pretty epic one. But first of all, I'd like to welcome our panel for this week. Let's see. First of all, the founder of the JeopardyFan.com, we have Jeannie Kenkel. Thanks for joining us, Jeannie. We also have the most recent winner of the Tournament of Champions, Ben Ingram. His alma mater is Going Dancing, so best of luck to Wofford in their 5-12 matchup against Arkansas. We also have somebody who was pretty famous on the internet at the end of this past week, Kristin Sausville. She won a few games, including one which we'll talk about in detail a little bit later on. We also have a 5-time champion, Vaughn Winchell. We also have from this past week's Sports Jeopardy, Chris Pay. Thanks for joining us, Chris. And finally, from jarchive.com and jboard.tv, David Kendall. Thanks all for joining us. So yes, pursuant to the lack of recaps that will be happening, basically the schedule in the future, as best as possible, the time for the live panels each week, Sundays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. That will likely be the case unless there are really extenuating circumstances. Otherwise, that being said, if we feel that there's really big breaking news that we feel can't wait till the Sunday, we may put together an ad hoc panel to discuss things as shortly after they happen as possible. So keep that in mind, and yes, I am cognizant of the fact that, yes, if I put together an ad hoc panel, it might be seen as a spoiler. I don't care.
Zing.
Let's see, what else? Oh, yes, a new feature that I am putting together for each of these, This Week in Jeopardy History. So this past week in the history of Jeopardy, there were some very interesting occurrences. I'm going to go back chronologically. 4 years ago this week, Tom Kunzin, he had his run. Ironically enough, in his run, there was a single-player Final Jeopardy.
Wow, that was 4 years ago?
4 years ago this week was Tom Kunzin's single-player final.
It was right before Justin taped, and one of his colleagues told him, if you go out there and that guy is still there, sorry.
Yeah.
5 years ago, I'm going to wish a happy Jeopardy to founder of J Archive, Robert Knecht Schmidt. He won one game, and I would say he is probably one of the more important people these days in terms of the history of the show, especially with what he has done with the J Archive. 8 years ago, Jeopardy went as viral as it could in 2007 because Scott Weiss, Jamie Kirby, Anders Martinson on the 16th of March 2007, they tied, all three of them. Anyone remembers that? There was the three-way tie, prompted by second and third place were tied, and there was an audience member who asked Alex if there had ever been a three-way tie before, planted the seed in Scott Weiss's mind. He offered the tie to his two challengers, and they all came back on Monday. Of course, that will never happen again because there are no more tiebreakers. Sorry, there are tiebreakers now in regular play. 10 years ago, the Ultimate Tournament Champions was happening. Eddie Timanis made his return 10 years ago this week. And there was an audio signal because they had done some things with the timing of the lights to Alex's voice, and they wanted to give everyone a fair go, including Eddie. And finally, 15 years ago this week, Robin Carroll won her 5th game in her original run on the program. The online test is coming. Sign up beginning March 30th. We'll talk about the online test a little bit later on. And moving on to Chris and Sports Jeopardy. Thanks for joining us, Chris. How was the experience meeting Dan Patrick? And
It was really fun. I enjoyed meeting up with Dan. I've done regular Jeopardy, and I actually like Dan better than Alex. It's a little more personable than Alex is. I don't know if you guys know how Alex is. He can be. I like Alex, but I like Dan a lot more. He's got a lot more humor. He's self-deprecating. I do like Dan a lot. He's very personable. It's just the best thing I could say about that. Oh, by the way, Eddie Timanis is in the contestant pool for Sports Jeopardy. They let us know that. Out of being on Sports Jeopardy, they let us know that while we were there in LA.
Wow.
That's great. That is awesome.
Are you the only one that's been on both sports and regular Jeopardy, Chris?
I don't know that, but when I was at the tryout, there were many people out there in Chicago who were Jeopardy and former sports or former Jeopardy people and Sports Jeopardy.
Oh.
I should point out that our last hangout actually had somebody who had done double duty. Well, we had Kate Waits, who was part of the $1 Million Masters and also was contestant on Sports Jeopardy a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
Now, Chris, I'm curious, how did it feel beating the guy from the NCAA to all those college sports questions, especially at the bottom of the board?
It felt good. I was a little frustrated because he kept buzzing in before I did. Of course, that was my problem the first time I was on Jeopardy. I could never figure out that darn buzzer. So it was nice. Just wish I could have gotten the Final Jeopardy. Even if I'd gotten the Final Jeopardy, it wouldn't have mattered. But the other thing I was frustrated with was every time I got a question wrong, he got it, then he got a daily double. So that exacerbated the situation for me.
I mean, that being said, that was a very, in my opinion, that was a difficult final. So I would say props to anyone who got that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was thinking of the wrong era than Kenny Lofton on that one. That's for sure, because I went back to the 50s and drew a blank as somebody who was playing for the Indians and the Giants back in the 50s. But
yeah, I was definitely drawing a blank. I was thinking more they were going to ask something like Dave Didrikson or maybe something easy, but that was just getting my hopes up high.
Let's see what other. For the entire panel, who at home got, or who watching got to the Mickey Mantle triple stumper in the tape measure jobs category? And how do you feel about that one? How do you feel about that one, Chris?
I feel like I should have gotten it. I just didn't think about it. When they said Griffith, I was just like, I'm just going to put my buzzer down and just let those guys try to go at it and try to think about it. Thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, he's the one that hit all the tape measure shots in the 50s. I should have gotten that question.
So, I mean, I would say that Frank Howard had a few as well in the later incarnation of Washington's baseball team. He could hit the ball quite a ways as well. But
True. That would have been one of the other ones from that time period. Yeah. But Mick and Mantle, just tape measure shots, just first thing you think of in that time period.
I thought it was Ted Williams because he hit that home run in San Diego like in a barnstorming game, and it landed in a railroad car that went all the way to Los Angeles, so that's the longest home run ever, like 90 miles.
Yeah.
So I just said Ted Williams. I didn't know.
Now, there was a funny Twitter account category in terms of funny sports Twitter accounts. I think Evil Mike Tomlin, the parody account for Joel Quenneville's mustache, the parody account for the Brooklyn Nets owner, and Happy Gilmore were mentioned. Does anyone else have any favorite funny sports Twitter accounts? Coming from Canada, I was hoping they were going to ask about boring Sean Monahan of the Calgary Flames, but does anyone else have any favorite? Go ahead.
I was gonna. I'm a fan of Born Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers. That's a good one, but I don't think it's active anymore. But Twitter's good, Twitter's bad. That's one of the good ones. I haven't seen Evil Mike Tomlin yet.
I like one with soccer player. His name's Mix Discarud. There's a Twitter handle that says Mix Discarud's hair, and basically they'll tweet whenever he does something great. It's pretty funny. Remember his long hair down to past his shoulders or to his shoulders.
My favorite one is at Dan Snyder Cares about the Washington owner.
Okay. Hey, for me.
One account I want to put together myself. If there was a way to somehow feed to my computer or my server tennis scores, I would want to put together an account that tweets out whenever Milos Raonic wins a game, and would call it another game for Milos.
Huh. How often would that happen?
He plays a lot often enough that it would. I mean, you would get enough tweets. But by game, I mean game in the tennis sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think if there were a way to run it as a bot, I think it would go over. But if somebody had to manually curate that account, that would be difficult.
Yeah.
So let's see. I think we're safe to move on to. Well, actually, I should probably ask Chris before we move on. Is there anything you had in terms of things you wish you'd gotten correct?
Oh, there are a couple. The Maria Sharapova wrong answer was horribly wrong. I was thinking 2007 as opposed to 1997. Should have gotten Angus. And then the Lenny Wilkens question really got me because I'm here in Atlanta, and Lenny Wilkens coached the Hawks for such a long time. Yeah, that was a horribly wrong answer. And then what's sad is after those two, he got daily doubles. So that's what makes me think, what if? So other than that, I was okay with what I did.
Would you have bet more on those daily doubles?
Oh yeah, he what you didn't see there was in the Lithuania question, the Olympics daily double, they messed up. They actually showed the clue before he wagered, and so because of that, they had to switch it up, and he actually wagered less than what he should have. That it gets you nervous. You see a question, they mess up, and then I probably would have gone for a true daily double on at least one of those two. The Olympics one I felt pretty confident in, but that was the one I would have done it.
Okay. Moving on to the regular Jeopardy from the past couple of weeks, actually, I kind of want to talk about. I don't know if I'm the only one out there who feels this way about last Friday's final with the Bruce Springsteen, but I feel as though it was one of those things where you had to know the quote from the speech. And I mean, obviously they said the category was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions, but thoughts on how fair the final might have been to go specifically for E Street, especially, it seemed to me, I don't know, it seemed like David was born in, I think he was the only one actually born in Asbury Park. What if the big Springsteen fan on this panel might have information about that too, but
I was a little bit busy in the audience, like trying to keep myself from going, sitting there in the audience in a Springsteen final. I've been sitting here all day, and that's going to be a final? No.
And it wasn't even a Springsteen category prompting you to go all in on your wager either. If
right.
That would have been your game, yeah.
No, yeah, and after the game, I ran down to Rachel and I gave her a big hug and told her she had gotten my dream final, and I was so glad that at least somebody got it, because I don't know what I would have done if it had been a triple stumper too. But she's a fan, so I was happy with that. She's a sweet girl. But No, I thought it was fair because that's the name of the band, and I thought the induction speech, it wouldn't make sense. It would make more sense to reference the name of the band than it would to reference the title of one of their albums.
Hmm.
Okay.
I wrote Asbury Park myself. Sorry, Mrs. S. But
Hey, chalk up 2 for Asbury Park. So
what it is, you know how Jeopardy is. They sort of have the insinuations, like the clue within the clue. What do they call that? The tease out metric.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a tease in that, but it was hard to find the tease, which is why I think it was worthy for the final because it was the band, so the E Street Band.
Right.
I think the fact that I don't know that much about Bruce Springsteen, at least not nearly as much as Kristin, helped me because I know Bruce Springsteen's band is the E Street Band.
Right.
I probably couldn't name more than one Bruce Springsteen album, and Asbury Park wouldn't be it. So that might have been what helped me get to it. I know Bruce Springsteen has E Street Band. Done.
And that's why I think it's fair because, like you just said, even people who aren't huge fans, they're gonna know E Street Band before they know Greetings from Asbury Park.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah, well, clearly this one was easier than if you were unburdened by knowledge, because I got it too.
Okay, another question for the whole panel. Penny on Tuesday's final, I should say, with Biggs instead of Higgs.
I've never mixed those up, but
No.
I can see how someone would. Higgs boson, Biggs hoson, but I have not.
Would that be kind of a nightmare scenario for you where you make that sort of mistake?
Yeah.
I didn't check anything like Twitter or anything like that. I'm just wondering if the social media verse had kind of pilloried the guy. At least until they forgot it completely until Kristin came along.
I don't
Find out.
I don't think the internet really liked her from what I was reading on social media and messages I was getting. I don't think that people really liked her to begin with. So I don't think people really felt sorry for her.
I see three
But
tweets.
It just seemed that this is the kind of thing that social media would jump on. Ha ha! Look, they spelled it big instead of pig.
Mm-hmm.
I looked and I saw 3 tweets about Biggs hoson on Jeopardy, but I see another tweet about what might be a DJ or a band named Biggs hoson playing at a pub with Young Algebra, Young spelled Y-U-N-G. So get tickets now, folks. Yeah.
Love that.
Tickets on sale now.
Biggs hoson.
Biggs
Young
hoson.
algebra.
Young algebra. You know, no, that's Jay.
It's a semi-group.
I find that usually puns don't go over as well as I'd like them to. But that's a topic for another time. Moving on to Kristin's games, I think what most people probably want to hear talk about is what happened Thursday. And would you guys say that, Kristin included, would you guys say that board might have been better suited for a Tournament of Champions?
I don't think that board was really all that well suited for anything.
The garbage bin, yeah.
Right. No, I just I kind of felt like I was survived a bloodbath at the end of it. I just was so grateful when the sound went off saying that it was done, and my only apologies are to future contestants who will have to face whatever clues we left behind.
Maybe the rejects, the one that didn't make the board.
Right.
Watch that. It's like Let's Make a Deal costumes. George Carlin said you should see the ones that don't let on the show.
But I know you were saying somewhere, Kristin, that even Alex was saying in the post chat that it was just a dog of a board. But I know that Alex has some say in the approval process beforehand. So I'm just wondering how they got to see the light of day still. There would have been a few people approving that board.
He said that when he read the boards at the beginning of the day that he knew that one would cause problems. So, yeah.
And yet he
And they
chose
didn't
not
take
to
that as
either.
an omen?
I kind of think that at the beginning of Double Jeopardy, Brad makes a comment like about the categories, or no, Alex actually makes the comment about the categories, and Brad says, "Oh, I was thinking the same thing." So Alex even made a dig at them on the air, which I've never seen. So
I read that the AV Club article about the head writer.
Yes.
yeah, that
And
was
but what he said was that Mr. Trebek reads the games like an hour and a half before taping or 2 hours before taping. So if you see a whole board that was like that, in many people's opinion, not very good, what are you going to do about it in an hour and a half, 2 hours?
the compliance people have already pulled the 5 for the day, so there's really nothing you can do. Yeah.
Right.
But still, there's still a lot of writers and stuff that say, well, yeah, I guess let's put it through. Run up the flagpole, see you salutes. So,
well, everybody has a bad day on the job.
yeah.
Well, and I didn't really think that board was uniformly terrible. I thought it had a couple of categories that were real dogs.
The Phineas and Ferber one, I think, was kind of a mess. I liked East Asian cities, but
Yeah, I did too. But my co-eds were just going, dip for that day.
I didn't keep mine. I kind of wish I had.
I know. I wish I would have that day.
I'll wait till they archive it and I'll do it again because I forgot about what happened. But when Edna Ferber came up, that reminded me of Colby. Because I missed that final myself. That's one of the few where it's like I have no idea. And he got that. That was his first final in Tournament Champions, and that put him into a pretty good lead.
yeah.
So that reminded me of him.
Oh.
Ferber's hard, but she's underrated.
I think that it wouldn't surprise me if I found out like one of the writers has a kid who's gotten into Disney Channel or something, because I've noticed a lot of like Disney music categories and stuff, and I'm thinking maybe one of the kids is watching Phineas and Ferb, and the writer thought, oh well, that would be cute,
Like in the Navy article, I know they were saying that it's hard to write for the younger audiences. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. The AV Club article, I believe it's titled "What It's Like to Be a Jeopardy Writer." If anyone wants to, or if anyone who hasn't had a chance, or is tuning in and hasn't had a chance to actually see the article, to get a chance to maybe read it, because I found it very insightful reading it the other day when it came out. So
can you maybe link to it somewhere, Andy, Jeannie?
we should be able to.
Yeah, maybe.
Post
I'll look
a
for it
link.
right now because I haven't read it myself. So I'll put a link in there.
Okay.
Ignore the Onion AV Club the other AV Club article about Jeopardy this week that talked about how pathetic the three of us were on Thursday.
Oh, I saw that.
I heard there was a lot of that.
At least it wasn't the Jezebel one that says that I didn't really win because I got final wrong.
What do they know? They don't know
I
nothing.
know, right?
Those who can't do write about it on social media.
I saw Salon Magazine pick it up, and y'all know about my relationship with Salon Magazine.
Yeah.
So that just invalidated everything in my view. But
It's pretty sad when the most sympathetic coverage comes from Perez Hilton.
what?
Yeah, his blog was about like, oh well, bad days happen to everybody, and they're good for them for being there at all, and yeah, yeah. The People Magazine one was good too, but the reporter's a friend of mine, so I knew that one would be okay.
Another star, that person who walks around talking to Siri all the time. What's her name?
Oh, Zoe Deschanel.
That's who it is. She posted something about you too.
This I didn't.
think. I don't know though. I think it's the sign of a champion winning those hard games like that, those pitchers' duels. So, richly deserved win in my view. All three of them.
Yeah.
I hope there's more, but only one of us
We'll
knows.
have to tune in. You'll have to tune in tomorrow.
Now, a question for you, Kristin. Did you have any goals set for how well you wanted to do on the show? Like, did you want to do better than your husband, for example, or?
Well, who wouldn't? I mean, right? Nobody's gonna complain about that. No, I guess like each game I had a new goal. Like the first game it was win, be a Jeopardy champion. Don't let people be able to say, oh well, I see who is actually good at Jeopardy in your house, And then the second one it was okay, don't be like one and done. And then the third game it was okay, well you have to win 3 if you even want to be thought about for the TOC. So then you have to win 3. And then when Game 4 comes up tomorrow, then my goal was to make the TOC goal a little bit more concrete, make it more realistic.
So you did have some long-term goals, not just win the game or survive.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No, and of course that's I saw what an amazing experience Justin had with his TOC, and who, after seeing that, who wouldn't want that for themselves?
Did you get much coaching from Justin?
Not so much. I know everybody's saying like, oh, Justin helped her prepare or whatever, but we went about it in completely opposite ways. Like when Justin was on, he was a resident. He was working 16 to 18 hours a day. He didn't have time to study. Like I saw on the message boards later, like, oh, Justin had the whole summer to study wagering theory. Well, no, he was studying for boards at that point, so he had a license to practice. So yeah, but then I went about it the opposite way. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Both my kids are in school all day now, and so I watched both episodes a day. I watched them standing up. I watched them with the click pen. I studied Keith Williams' website. Every single episode I watched, I paused it at the end and did everybody's wagers. Roger Craig set me up with his method to study the J Archive. I played thousands of questions off the J Archive. So yeah, we went about it in opposite ways entirely.
That's interesting. How did you and Justin meet? Because I heard a little bit about the story.
We met doing High School Quiz Bowl. We met at the very end of senior year of high school at the high school tournament that the University of Maryland hosts every spring. And that was where we really started talking to each other. We had actually played each other at a tournament hosted by a local high school a few months before that, and it went to 3 tiebreaker questions. So we've been pretty competitive all along. Yeah.
It's a bit of a teaser.
But then it was at the Maryland tournament that we really started talking, and we had a really fun summer together. And we were pretty young, so going to college about 500 miles apart. We broke up and got back together. I lost count how many times, but we ended up together, and here we are.
You went to college in Swanee, right?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
I competed against him in college, so I actually know who he is.
Where did you go?
I went to Emory, so I know who he is. And that name rang a bell when you said it. So.
Yeah.
And he and I, of course, have a mutual friend. So I want to brag that I kind of know you, Kristin, and I'm happy about that. So yay, I'm your friend. That's good. Swanee.
So I guess moving on, or at least a little bit related to Kristin's response about what sort of studying did you do? What sort of studying did you do, Chris, going into your Sports Jeopardy taping?
Kristin, you want to go first?
Well, Kristin just gave her answer already.
Yeah, that's right. I did a lot of just going back into sports almanacs, and I did use Wikipedia quite a bit because it's good for just really basic information and just quickly clicking on things that you want to see. Also, I played the Sports Jeopardy app, which is actually not that bad. It helped me more on the tryout than it did on the actual show. And then I watched as many of the Sports Jeopardy shows as I could just to get a feel of it, because there's five less clues per round. And so you're just you make a mistake, you have less time to make it up. So you kind of need to be on your game as soon as you get into the Sports Jeopardy round. So those are things that I did. And then I know Colby. I had asked Colby also because I had a problem with the buzzer the first time I did it, and he kind of gave me a better idea of how to use the buzzer. It worked. I kind of got frazzled halfway through it, and I kind of stopped using what he told me to do with the buzzer. But
what did he tell you to do with the buzzer?
Basically, my deal, the reason I messed up the first time I was on the teacher's tournament, I would wait for that daggum light. And he just ignore the light, and go with whatever they say, however they end the sentence. And then pay attention for just a small pause and try to figure out when it is that after Dan Patrick says the last word and just hit the buzzer. And it worked a little bit better for me this time around. I could buzz in a lot more easily this time on Sports Jeopardy than I could on first time I was on Jeopardy.
That buzzer's springy.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I took away. The buzzer's springy.
Right. So no, it was good, but the guy next to me was just really, really hot, and so he just got a ton of questions in a row. And the Daily Doubles, which is a a big deal. I think a lot of people don't realize that you've got to get those daily doubles. They're pretty big, especially on Sports Jeopardy. So.
I was just going to say, I didn't get a single daily double my last 2 games.
And how'd that turn out for you, Ben?
I'm pretty lucky what it was.
If you can get the daily doubles, get them. If you can't, make sure your opponent blows them.
Right.
No, it wasn't entirely that. I don't know how they did it. They might have gone 4 or 6. I don't remember 5 or 6, but whatever.
Well, it worked out for you, Ben.
I guess so. I got lucky, though.
Okay. In the Department of Conspiracy Theories, going back to Thursday's game, do we think Thursday's board might have been a conspiracy theory to try to get more people to think, oh, I could do better than these people on TV. Maybe I should write the online test.
That's what I've been telling people. Every single nasty comment I see online, I'm like, good luck on the online test. Registration opens soon.
Nice. That's so awesome.
That is a great attitude, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think y'all know how I feel about conspiracy theories. I don't think the scores were low because, like you saw the second half of Double Jeopardy. It looked like there might have been a little bit of frustration going on, but mostly it was just the other 2 contestants, Stephanie and Brad, just trying to get out of the hole. So you can't but give people credit for that. Josiah did that too.
Yeah.
And everybody gave him the business for it, but it doesn't matter if you're out $6,800 or 2 cents. Either way, you're going to be missing Final Jeopardy, so you may as well take a shot.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie played exactly how they tell you to play. They tell you if you're behind and it's getting close to the end, go to the bottom of the board and give it your best guess. And she did exactly that, and the internet is tearing her apart. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think
they don't know the behind-the-scenes stuff. A lot of the people that are commenting, a lot of the people that are writing articles about it, whether it's in a big magazine or just their own blog, are casual viewers, and I think that's.
And I want to say too, like I will reiterate this everywhere I can, that Stephanie is just a really classy person, and she actually stayed in the audience for the Friday game, which I don't think very many people would have done. But she stayed, and at the end she came down and she gave me a huge hug and said how happy she was that she had gotten to meet me and that I had won again and that she'd be cheering for me. And I don't think a lot of people would have done that. So I have nothing but respect for her.
and I think Stephanie played with such tenacity. I really don't know if I could have done that with as much dedication as she did when it really started to unravel. I have nothing but respect for the way she played.
And I heard the people talking in the green room afterward. I heard the coordinator saying, at least they didn't give up. At least they weren't just standing there. They kept trying. They gave it every single thing they had. They didn't just lay down and die, you know?
I think it takes a lot of character to play like that. I mean, everybody has lost, and that means that everybody has been frustrated by playing the game, except for that damn computer. What who played a few years ago?
Watson.
Well, don't say that word. So Watson, of course,
that damn computer. Yeah.
I'm going to take a bat, but Watson did not feel frustration. Watson did not feel anything. Everyone else has. I felt frustration. I actually slammed my hand down on the glass, and I was not told not to touch the glass. But when I was growing up, they said don't touch the window, leave your fingerprints on it because you're going to dirty it up and have to use Windex. So I never touched the glass unless I was mad, and I was mad one time. So everybody feels it, but I think they both did a good job keeping their emotions in check and just playing the game.
It was kind of a weird vibe for the three of us, too, because that was the first game after the lunch break, and the three of us had sat together at a table during lunch and had a really pleasant conversation, and both of them were really interesting people. You know, Brad had told us about a lot of the cool places he had traveled, and, you know, we just had a really pleasant time, and I think that when their names were the ones that got pulled, all three of us were just kind of like, oh, okay, we have to play each other now, you know?
Yeah. That is tough. If you've been there through the day and they call your name, you think, but if we all play each other, two of us have to go home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I've heard. The Jeopardy community is just so friendly and so nice, and now you got to play against them. All Jeopardy players are really, really nice people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet these people. Oh.
When I was out there for the second time, Keith Williams, John Pearson, Rebecca Ryder, and I played euchre. And then guess whose names came up in the first quarterfinal? Those three. So, but it was just friendly and fun. The whole experience is friendly and fun. Y'all two are going to enjoy it. Something else too, talking about climbing out of holes. That's what you did in your first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
That was.
No one talked about that.
Yeah.
How soon you forget? Yeah.
I think
Go back to my
seriously,
comment
I
about
overshadowed
casual fans.
that.
That was my nightmare going out there, was to be in the red, and then being there, at the beginning of Double Jeopardy, and Alex being kind of snarky at the beginning, and between the break and filming between the first and second rounds, like I'm just like clenching the podium, and like I'm really angry. And Justin told me later he was like looking at me and thinking, oh no, she's not going to be fun to deal with later.
So you were angry.
I was angry because I was like, I did not come all this way and sit through a whole day of filming yesterday and not get chosen, and then wait and till the third game of this day, and just it had been like a lot of things one after another, and it's like I did not come out here and go through all of this to go out like this, And then those categories came up, and I saw the director category. I was like, okay, I know these cold, so I'm like, all
That
right.
was fun to watch.
True fact.
How often were you looking at the scores during the first half of your first game when you were down? No. I got the impression that people usually don't have much chance to look at their scores unless if it's paused for Daily Double or whatever.
I don't think I was looking. I remember being surprised when I fell below 0, and then just thinking like, oh, great, Yeah. And I was just terrified I wasn't going to get out of it. I mean.
So the online test is coming up with the registration beginning March 30th. I believe that's 3 Mondays from now. Does the panel have any online test tips they might like to share for people?
Yes, please.
Put DH on. That's one of my tips. Put Andy on too.
Well, Andy and I are the only ones here that can really benefit from this. Yes.
Well, people who might be tuning into.
Oh yeah. No, I mean on the panel. Of course.
Just take it, and use the time that they give you. Don't like be in a rush to get to the next question. Just use the time they give you, and a lot of stuff comes up on the shows. So if you've been watching the shows for the past however long, I think it'll be usually some familiar information comes up.
It does help if you type well.
Yeah.
You have the timer's going, you're just typing along. It took me 10 or 11 years to even get an audition. So just keep going at it too. Don't just give up.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
Something like taking a lot of Sporkle quizzes would probably help, because that would get you into the mindset of typing answers quickly. Maybe something like that.
Half the time I Sporkle on my iPhone, which.
Yeah, that's
really quick.
It exists. Yeah, Sporkle on iPhone exists, but then autocorrect takes over. So if I type KAZ, it comes up automatically. So that's not really fair, I guess.
No.
I think one thing, the only advice I have is to expect a before and after and a rhyme time, or some kind of wordplay category, and be ready for those, because how many people take the test? 100,000? I'm surprised it's not more. But about the only way you can prepare is by watching the show, and just like you said,
that's what I was going to say.
But some of those 100,000 people don't watch the show. Watch it for a week or two. Hit the archive a couple of times. Get better at the areas in which you're bad. Put in the long yards, and who knows?
Well, and also get used to, now this isn't going to apply to David or Andy, but get used to that idiosyncratic way that Jeopardy clues are worded. Looking for the demonstrative pronouns. Tells you what they're looking for.
Look for the tease-out metric, as we call it. Yeah.
Or even the what follows the this in every clue.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that comes from repeated watchings of the show, which is my number one advice too that Ben stole, to watch the show as often as you can and be familiar with.
That's Sony's advice too.
I want people who know Jeopardy on there, which I'm surprised that out of the people who take it, a lot of some of them don't watch the show, and even some of those people who don't watch the show get on the show, and that really baffles me. People who are
win
Jeopardy think, Oh, well, I don't watch the show that much, but here I am. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, well, but hey, let's put it this way. We've had panelists who've been like, what? There's a Clue Crew now? And
Yeah.
The Clue Crew.
That was an interesting tidbit. Johnny was out for the tape days that were the past 2 weeks, and so Jimmy from the Clue Crew was the one who came in and did his job for him, and then we were told that everything would get dubbed in later.
I thought something sounded off about Johnny's voice.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jimmy did a great job.
We don't even see Johnny on Sports Jeopardy.
Why was Johnny off? Did they say?
They were kind of vague about it.
Oh.
I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
oh well, now that you guys know that I came back for this tape week, I can say that yes, he's back for this tape week. Yeah, this week he was back in the studio. I forgot I can say things like that now.
so I heard something where you had mentioned, I think it was on Jboard actually, that you mentioned that your reaction to getting Friday's final correct was that you had to work out babysitting.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So as soon as they said Sean had gotten it right, I'm like, whoa! I hope my dad can go back and watch the kids again next week. Because well, Justin came out with me for those tape days, and my dad came up to Delaware and stayed with our kids so that they wouldn't have to be pulled out of school for a week, and then I knew that Justin wouldn't be able to come back, but at the same time, he works really long hours, he's on call, and so I was just trying to think like, okay, well, maybe my dad can come back, maybe I can ask my neighbors to kind of cobble something together to cover times, but my dad was able to come back, so that worked out.
Multitasking mind of a mom.
Yeah.
Kristin, were your boys annoyed that they didn't get to go to California?
No, they actually weren't. I don't think they realized that while we had like 0-degree wind chills here that week, it was like 80 and sunny in LA. I don't think they really realized that, or else maybe they would have felt differently. The main thing was that my younger son actually had his birthday. The tape day for this past week was on his birthday, and all he really cared about was that he was going to see his friends and that he was going to get his birthday celebrated no matter what. So, and then to come back for this tape week, I actually had to miss his party, which I had been setting up and planning and handling the RSVPs, and I heard there were some interesting rumors about why I no-showed his party at the last minute. But
witness protection.
Yeah. I had a mom come up to me at a school event, and she was asking me all these pointed questions about where I was and about how she had to step in and help Justin run the party, which I heard was kind of an exaggeration, and she didn't really, but and now I'm thinking like I really should have come up with something much more interesting to tell her. I really should have been like, oh man, I was really high in an airplane.
Oh.
I was in jail. It was
jail. Oh, witness protection. Ron said,
yeah.
I like that.
My other family really needed me.
My other
yes.
Jeopardy family.
Right.
I'm down. I'm using them.
Do you think I was going to ask, do you think your boys really understand what's happening? I mean, I know they're practically grown. They're like, what, about 6 now?
7 and 6, yeah.
7
My
and 6.
7-year-old Matthew, I think he's really starting to kind of figure things out, and he really gets it. And he watches the show every night, and he's starting to be able to get 1 or 2 of them every night. And
Nice.
I think he's really into it. And, yeah, my younger son Ben, I think he's still kind of in like that kind of magical thinking kind of territory where stuff isn't. He doesn't like. He can't put stuff together. Like Matthew figured out, okay, well, if mom had to fly back, then obviously she must have won. Whereas Ben, would have needed to be told that followed from the other. So
you're saying we might have a Sausville trifecta in a few years?
That would be awesome.
Trifecta, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
That would be amazing.
I think as of now, there have been more, like, people named Sausville have won more games than people named Ingram, so oh darn. But dang it.
Well, not if you count the tournament, Ben. You have
Oh.
You have some more wins to add to your bank account.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Champions.
Because Justin and I are at 9 right now. Or, well, counting Justin's turn. Well, he didn't win any of his tournament games because he was a wild card. So Justin and I are at 9.
What am I at? I don't. Well,
You
I'm
got
not
more
at
than
9.
that.
You have 8 from your regular appearances, Ben, and then you've got do we want to count the final as 1 game or 2? Because that's 3 or 4.
Technically, I would have lost both of the final games by themselves, but but put together, I guess I won. So I don't know, but
Well, we'll go with
keep
11.
going, keep winning.
We'll go with 11.
This one goes to 11. I can't wait to see what happens. This has been fun.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy week last week. We'll see what happens this week.
Well, you already know, but whatever.
Yes, but she can't say anything, so, and I don't need
Yep.
to get her in trouble. So
No.
Did you only take the test after Justin came on, or have you both been taking the test for a few years now, Kristin?
No, actually, I was the first one of us to take the online test back in 2006, and I actually had an audition then. So take that, conspiracy people who say that I only got recruited because Justin was on, because I auditioned before he did. But we decided that we were gonna take turns taking the online test so that we wouldn't be competing directly against each other for a spot on the show. So I took it. Auditioned in 2006. I didn't get the call. He took it in 2009 and then didn't get the call until 2011, and then I've been taking it every year since, but didn't get an audition until 2014.
I wouldn't be able to stand taking a year off of taking the test for whatever reason. But I think it would have been cool to see both you and Justin in the same tape year and then wind up in the same TLC.
I had
meet each other in the finals.
2009 though, so I wouldn't have been, really on my game then.
That's why they asked, do you know anybody who's been on the show and so on and so forth. So.
And I filled up the whole back of the paper with.
Oh yeah, you know a lot of people.
I had to write C back, and then I listed everybody I knew.
Yeah.
I'll just print out the roster.
Imagine what position I'd be in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you might know the most of all.
Yeah.
Other than someone else, but I think y'all know who he is. But we'll talk about that.
I'll just print up the membership list of J-Board and staple that.
Isn't that? Well, I might say that somebody I mentioned whose Jeopardiversary came up this week in Jeopardy history had quite a long list of people that he submitted. As I know.
I imagine, yes.
So...
I definitely imagine. But hey, he got on. So.
Yeah, but I would say that in response to Kristin and the conspiracy theories, this is why you never read the comment sections on a site like Fickle Fame. So,
yeah.
If you read the comment section anywhere.
There's somebody who's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's the only site that is still willing to give a certain purveyor of cigars his
yeah,
voice.
how about that?
So yeah, on that note, I'm going to ask if any member of the panel has any questions for any other member of the panel. We have quiet. Let me check my own.
I used up all my questions.
Yeah, me too.
Just making sure I don't have anything in the email that says, "Hey, I would like to. I have a question." I don't think so. So.
I have a quick question for Kristin, because we sort of alluded to this on Facebook earlier, but after that Thursday match, when you were, standing center stage and you were talking to your husband after, you must have had some inkling that you had just won what was going to become a much talked about game.
That you just broke the internet, in other words.
Yeah, right.
I think I remember telling Justin something like, "Oh my gosh, the internet's gonna tear Stephanie apart," and just kind of being kind of upset about that. But yeah, no, I knew it was gonna go viral. I did not know it was going to get as many hits as it did. It was like the #1 topic on Facebook. The People.com article got 2 million page views, and yeah, I didn't know it was going to be that big.
And that the reporting would be that sloppy.
What reporting?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
as I
right.
said, almost all of these things are written by people who don't know the show, and I don't know why that is, but that always seems to be the case. So, those who can play the game, those who can't write about it.
Right.
Isn't it funny how you can see something in the paper or online that you know something about, and you think, this is wrong and that's wrong, and then you go right on to the next thing and you say, well, it says right here in the Washington Post.
Yes.
That's exactly why I've stopped watching TV news and reading most news outlets. I get all my news from Facebook now.
Very reputable.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, as well as to our panelists this evening. Jeannie did have to step out a little bit early, but I'd like to thank her for taking part, as well as Ben Ingram. Thanks for joining us once again, Ben. Hope to see you again soon. Also, thanks to David. Good luck on the online test in the once the registration opens, and
You, Andy?
also, yes, best of luck to Wofford against Arkansas. I'll be cheering for them. I'm not sure where my picks are going to lie in my own NCAA pool at this point. We'll see how. I'm waiting to see where the rest of the seeds come out in the entire bracket. I did not see the entire bracket yet, so we'll see what happens there. Also, thanks to Chris, one of the few people who has been able to do both Jeopardy and Sports Jeopardy. Also, thanks, Vaughn, for being able to join us once again. We will try to get you on sooner rather than later. I think there might have been a miscommunication the last time we tried to get you on. So
Yeah, with the teachers, and then you guys threw me under the bus.
that was inadvertent, Vaughn.
No hard feelings, Andy.
Okay. And also, congratulations to Kristin and your 3 wins so far.
Hasn't lost yet.
Hasn't lost yet. Hopefully, next Sunday we'll be saying 8th-time champion Kristin Sausville. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, and